What's on, where and when. It's the Talk of Nelson. Talk Nelson Radio. The Mako Rugby Roundup.
Welcome to the Mako Rugby Roundup, episode 3 for 2023, covering all that is rugby in the top of the South. And it's my pleasure to welcome back Mr. Les Edwards. Welcome back, Les.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thank you, Chris.
Sean Davis, our venue sponsor. How you going, mate?
I'm good, thanks, mate. Yeah.
And also a very special guest today, Con Barrell, who's co-coach of the Marist Rugby Football Club. G'day, mate.
Thanks for having me along.
Nice to have you here. On the show today, we're going to have the O'Shedigan's Shed chat. We're going to be talking First 15 rugby. That's back. Senior men's and women's rugby, Super Rugby, and, of course, a chat with our special guest, Con Barrell. First of all, though, our venue sponsor, O'Shedigan's on Bridge Street. It's the Shed chat. And this Friday, isn't it? You boys are hitting off at Waitakaroa.
That was the plan, mate. We've had to call an early postponement on the tournament just due to weather. The course doesn't look too good, and it doesn't look like it's improving between now and Friday. So we've pushed it a week, mate. So we're looking to tee off next Friday now. So yeah, couple of spots have come available. We had a couple of teams that had to drop out due to the postponement. So there's a couple of new spaces become available if people are keen for a round next Friday.
Okay, all right, and they can get in touch with you at O'Shedigan's.
Yeah, exactly. Through the Facebook page is just as easy, or come into one of the venues here on New Street, the other sponsors for the event. So
nice.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hope that it won't be too much rain. And, of course, it's all in aid of Dancing for a Cause. So, Sean, you're in that.
Yeah, mate.
How are things coming along?
Yeah, the clock's ticking. We're getting closer and closer. So, yeah, we're starting to talk dress rehearsals and costumes and things like that now. So it's all getting a little bit real. Still training a couple or 3 times a week just to try and get there. And while the confidence is lifting a wee bit, still not ready to perform in front of a couple of thousand yet.
Well, just 3 weeks to go.
Yeah. Heaps of time.
Yeah, you're going to have to get there quickly.
And as we talked about last week, the event is actually sold out, but there is still an opportunity to donate or... Yeah,
exactly. So, I mean, it's obviously all in aid of raising funds for hospice. So, yeah, there's plenty of opportunities to donate, and that's, what ties in with our golf tournament next week, or hopefully next week with the weather permitting. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big event. So
yeah,
it's good to be a part of it.
Fantastic for hospice.
Speaking of that golf, Con, have you got a team? And
we certainly have got a team in.
Burglars, all of you.
Very good team.
Oh. There we go. Watch out. He's the man to watch. Okay, Les, what's the return of First 15 rugby?
Yeah, well, I'm excited to have First 15 rugby playing again. They've changed the format in the what is the Miles Toyota Championship. So they're now having 2 divisions, Premiership and Championship. We've got 2 teams in the region in the Premiership. That'd be Nelson College and Marlborough Boys. And in the Championship, the Waimea combined team are playing there. So a couple of games this Friday, Chris, to kick the things off, 2 away games. Nelson College are away to St Andrews College, playing on Friday at 11 a.m. And Marlborough Boys College are away to Shirley Boys High School, playing 12 noon on Friday. Waimea combined play at home on Saturday, 12 noon at Waimea College. So that's a good opportunity for anyone who likes First 15 rugby to get along and have a look.
Yeah, good to see it back, and good luck to our local teams. Senior Club Rugby, and it's Men's Division 1 Round 5. But let's talk about last week, because we had the Marlborough final.
Yes, we did. And Central good enough to, again, win the silverware. Just a really good side, probably the best of the lot, Con, in Marlborough. They won 38 points to 5 over Waitoi. Talking to the 2 coaches, it was pretty clear that the set piece was where the game was both won and lost. So, it's the way rugby's played. Get your set piece right, and then the rewards can happen.
Okay, looking at the lineup for this weekend, Les.
Yeah, so it's exciting. We've got Kahurangi hosting Con's team Marist. That's being played at Sports Park Motueka at 3 p.m. And in the other game, Nelson hosting Stoke at Trafalgar Park at 3 p.m.
Okay, let's go through the tips. And Nelson and Stoke at Trafalgar Park. So Nelson had a good win last week against Waimea.
Yeah, very good win. They're a team that's on the up and up. I think they're strong. They're big. They've now got a bench. They'll be too strong for the Stoke team.
Okay, what's your thoughts on that, Con? You had a chance. You've played both of these teams.
We've played both the teams, and it depends how Stoke responds last week and their bounce back. A team that's hurt and they're back and against the wall can come out firing. I'm picking a draw there.
A draw.
Well, yeah, there you go.
There's the hot
draw there.
Yeah.
It is Nelson's home game, and
Yes.
as Liz said, they are stronger this year.
Yeah,
across the whole park and on the bench.
right.
But I'm picking a draw. There you go.
What do you think,
nice.
Sean?
Listen, yeah, I agree with Les. I feel a renewed energy around this Nelson team this year. It's I've felt that they have been building from last season, and look, I think that I went and watched the Stoke Marist game in the weekend, and I just feel like Nelson are coming up, putting things together, and I think they might actually get one over Stoke this weekend as well.
So big game in Sports Park Motueka, 3:00, Kotarangi versus Marist, and in fact, none of you can tip because you're all biased. But I suppose you're not so direct. Well, you are involved in the club, but these guys are running the club.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll give you an opportunity, Sean. Kotarangi, obviously the form team, but look, on the standings, Marist leading at the moment, Kotarangi second, Stoke third. And but it is going to be a big match, isn't it?
It is, yeah, for sure. I think,
watching that Marist game. The thing is, you're not going to be able to tip against.
No,
Marist,
and I wouldn't, but I think the wet weather conditions and it's going to be a pretty soggy Motueka part, I feel, and that's probably going to bring the game a lot closer together. I think it's the game of the weekend. Watching Marist last week against Stoke, they look the goods, and that's not from a one-eyed perspective on this occasion, but it's going to be a close game, I think, and without going as far as tipping against them, I think it'll be really, really tight.
Really close, because Kotarangi will be strong in their home ground.
Yeah, the significant thing about this game, though, is that it will determine the Nelson Bay Sub-Union champion.
Yeah, right.
One way or the other, and it also has a very important trophy up for contention, and that's the John Goodman Challenge Trophy. So the Marist have a chance to contest for that. And I'm sure that's going to be a good motivation for both teams, Kotarangi wanting to keep it and Marist wanting to win it for the first time.
Okay, and Con, we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening with Marist Senior a bit later in the show. So we'll get the inside the inside story on the Marist Football Club. Senior women round 4, and what's the lineup there, Les?
Well, unfortunately, we've already had a default in the Waimea Old Boys Marist game. So Waimea Old Boys have defaulted to that match. Just a couple of injuries and a depleted squad, some people away. So Marist get the win there without having to play. And Kotarangi are hosting Waimea combined as one of the preliminary games at Sports Park Motueka.
Okay, so is that Wairau combined?
Yes.
Yes, got you, yeah. So at the moment, it looks as though it's quite a tight race between Marist and Kotarangi again. So very similar in the women's senior division.
Absolutely. They're the two best teams. The others are just trying hard to make a very competitive competition, get our female players playing and giving the FPC team a chance to get some fit players ready for their campaign.
Super Rugby round 11 and big lineup. We've got the Highlanders versus the Chiefs Friday, Fijian Drua versus the Hurricanes Saturday, Crusaders versus the Force at home. That's also on Saturday. Blues versus Moana Pacifica at home. Reds versus Waratahs. That's in Queensland. And the Rebels versus the Brumbies. That's in Melbourne. Okay, so we'll start off with you, Les, the Highlanders and the Chiefs. Highlanders at home, they've had a tough run, haven't they, the Highlanders? But
they have.
But they now get a chance to play at home, so you never know. They might pull one out of the bag.
They might, but I doubt it. The Chiefs were awesome again, undefeated in the whole comp thus far. Just awesome against the Crusaders in front of their home crowd. They're a very, very good side. They get to welcome back a player that we love, Alex Nankivell, making a return from injury for them off the bench, and number 23, so keep an eye out for him. In terms of the Highlanders, doing it really, really tough this year. They do have some Mako players in their team. They got Andrew Makaleo, Hugh Renton, and Shannon Frizzell in their pack, and Fatuli Paya in centre. Mitchell Hunt coming off the bench. As much as I love those Mako players, I just don't think collectively that they're going to be able to hold the Chiefs close. So I'm predicting Chiefs 13 plus.
And Sean, Fiji and Drua at home against the Hurricanes. They always put up a good fight, the Fijians at home, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. They turn into a different squad when they're at home. But yeah, again, coming up against a fairly good Hurricanes lineup. And yeah, travel included, I think the Hurricanes will still get there. Should be a good game, though. Probably one of the more entertaining games on the list. And predicting a fairly high score on both squads.
And Crusaders versus the Force. Crusaders probably not too happy with the way things have been going the last couple of weeks, but at least they're at home versus the Force.
Yeah, exactly right, Chris. And they're a pretty clinical team, the way they play. They'll be hurting after last week, losing to the Chiefs. I think at home they'll be fairly strong. There'll be too much for the Force travelling over and wanting to patch up. Yeah. Things from
get
the last
things back
couple of
on.
weeks. Get that campaign rolling again.
Yeah. Blues versus Moana Pacifica. Blues at home, Les. So,
yeah, and foolish enough to tip Moana Pacifica again last week. I'm not making that mistake ever again this season. So the Blues in a romp.
Yeah, Sean, Reds versus the Waratahs. This will be a good game.
Yeah, I think it will be. The Waratahs pulled something out last week against like we've talked about the Highlanders. We don't have to go on about them too much, I guess. But close game. I think it could probably go either way. To be fair.
And the Rebels versus the Brumbies the Rebels are at home in Melbourne, Con. So, the Brumbies had a loss to the Crusaders, but they are playing away again. So that'll be an interesting.
Yeah,
match.
I think so. And we've seen the Rebels over the last few weeks have a dominating half a game.
Right.
And then fall away. I'm thinking this is the upset of the round.
Right.
I think if the Rebels can put it together and keep it together for the whole round, for the whole game, I think they're going to tip the Brumbies.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
Good stuff. You're with the Mako Rugby Roundup. Our very special guest is Con Barrell, who's the co-coach of the Maris Rugby Football Club. Nice to have you here, Con. And, mate, tell us a little bit about your background, prop for North Auckland, Canterbury Crusaders and the All Blacks. So you've had quite the career.
Yeah, I have. I've been lucky. I guess I originally started with North Auckland, which changed to Northland. I first started as a hooker, but I was actually a prop. So I was playing club rugby as a prop. Started playing senior club rugby as a prop at 17, transferring from first five, and then got selected to play for Northland, I think, when I was about 22 as a hooker.
Right.
Hated hooking. Couldn't throw that ball to save myself. You had to learn to jump when I was throwing. And then at the end of the year, I said to the coach, I want to go back to prop. So hit the gym pretty hard, put a few kilos on and went back to prop.
Where did it all sort of start, Con? Did you growing up in an area school, going to an area school?
Yep. Yeah, it's a little school, Taurua area school. We had one rugby team in the whole school, and that was the whole of the fifth form, the whole of the fourth form,
Magic.
Most of the third form, and one or two in the sixth form. That was it to make a team.
You talked about the change from hooker to prop. What sort of inspired that? Was it just the line out throwing, or?
Well, yeah, I guess I enjoyed the role as a prop. I probably myself, I was probably more a strong man than having the technique of throwing the ball and that sort of stuff. And I guess I played a lot more prop. You don't just jump into hooker and learn to throw a ball. You sort of get born and bred all the way through, and it was hard work, yeah.
So in 1995, Con, you moved down to Christchurch, right? And and I think it was a mid-season move, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, so a mid-season change from Northland to Canterbury. So you end up playing 66 games there for the Canterbury side. But what inspired that mid-season move?
I think at the time we knew rugby was going to turn professional in 96. And I'd been approached by, I think we'd had a Barbarian versus the All Black game before they went to the World Cup. I performed reasonably well scrummaging in that game and had offers from 3 different unions. And I analysed at that time it was going to be probably easier to make it in Canterbury than Auckland, where they had Olo Brown, Craig Dowd, and Sean Fitzpatrick.
Right.
So that was my reason for going to Canterbury.
Yeah, and it paid off for you.
And it paid off, so we played NPC down there for the year, and then it turned to Super Rugby.
Yeah, and you ended up playing, nearly 50 games for the Crusaders as well. So,
yeah,
mate, Canterbury Crusaders, pretty big names in New Zealand rugby, but there must have been some amazing characters that you hooked up with.
Oh, there was, and I guess it was something that was new going professional. You're going from that era of being farmers and that, and all of a sudden it's professional. There was some amazing characters. The first year we lost the competition. We come 12th, then 6th, then first. So with those characters, you got the Toddy Blackadders, the Mertens Marshall, the Normie Burmans, the late Normie and Normie Maxwell, the characters like that who created a culture with the Crusaders. Yeah, and it was the players and that themselves that created that culture along with the management.
So that era, who was coaching you at the time?
The very first season was Vance Stewart. And then over the next few seasons, we had Robbie Dean, Steve Hansen, Wayne Smith. So I had some very good coaches.
So an evolution by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
And people that you learned from, whether subconsciously or not, you that's where a lot of your coaching learning came from.
100%. And everyone's got their own philosophy, you learn the good and bad and you take it out of them. We had some pretty amazing coaches, and a lot of them that really stood out to me were the ones that had the people skills. They could get the best out of every player because you got every sort of culture in that in every team, and you can't just treat everyone the same. You've got to know how to bring the best out of that person, that culture.
Well, you must have done pretty well because you ended up playing 4 matches for the All Blacks. So it was All Blacks 955 and 2 tours, 96 to South Africa and 97 Ireland, Wales and England. So tell us your memories of those tours.
Oh, they're pretty special. As a kid, every kid dreams of it. Nowadays, it'd be a lot better because you get rotation. I would have got heaps of games. Them days, you sat on the bench, you didn't get on unless somebody completely fell over and broke a leg or something. The special thing, that first tour in 96, that was our first ever series win in South Africa. So that was amazing, the coming home parade. But just the memories of playing over there, big stadiums. The South Africans are passionate. They absolutely hate you. They'll abuse you, but after the game, they absolutely love you and respect you.
Awesome.
You walk around, you have the pride. They love their rugby. They're just so passionate. So just memories of that is special.
I remember that final game, and at the end, the line was getting absolutely hammered, and at the end, the All Blacks were just all falling over, absolutely exhausted.
Yeah, and that's what it's about—the passion that you had in that black jersey.
Yeah,
or the Crusader jersey, or whatever jersey you're playing, and that's the passion you've got to have if you want to succeed.
So obviously Ireland, Wales and England, so that would have been an incredible tour too. But if you compare the two, South Africa and those teams, were any more difficult or harder, or is it still a big challenge either way?
It's a big challenge either way. And I guess if you look around the world or you talk to any person for any team or any country, the ultimate pinnacle is to play against the All Blacks. You know, and there's different places. I was on the bench at Twickenham. I never actually got on the field. One of the props went down with a blood nose, but some great memories. And you do things that normal people don't do. We had tea with the Queen and different things like that. They're pretty special memories too,
Yeah, magic. So tying in from visits with the Queen back to Nelson, Con, you came to Nelson Bays as a lone player in early 2000s.
Yeah. And I think we were lucky at that time with the Canterbury team. We had Greg Feek, Dave Hewitt, Greg Sumble, and myself. And I went to Steve Hansen. I said, I was the older guy then. I said, I'm not going to get a lot of game time, these young ones. How about I go and help out Nelson, who are part of the Crusader region? So we organised that out and shot up here and played for Nelson.
And is that the point where you met your lovely wife, Kate?
Yeah, it is. It is. She was part of who'd she work for? Divine Fitness at that stage.
Yes.
And Divine Fitness. And she was part of the management team with the Nelson Bays team. And Kate and I end up getting together at the end of the year. And
Well, that's a good
Been
thing.
together
'Cause
since.
Rest is history.
it's a good thing because he's stuck around. We've managed to keep him in the region.
Oh, yeah.
I'd imagine because Kate's a Thornelli, so
Oh, right.
the tie up to
Oh, yes,
region.
of course. You had no chance.
I had no chance. Yeah.
Oh, very good. All right. So, after some time in Australia, both of you in the police, you've returned to Nelson, and last year got involved in coaching Maris. So, how did that come about? Well, we're just, obvious connection, but at the end of the day, how did that come to fruition?
Well, we decided to come back to Nelson the way the world was at the moment. We couldn't get back in the country and see family. And Kate's very close to her family. As I said, her mum and dad are here, and our son Cleve lives here and plays for Maris. So come back, bought a boat, drove back over here, and then Maris coach at that time, Sean Bergs, come and saw me and said, come and help the forwards out. So that's how I got involved.
Nice.
Not that I was ever a Marist man. I used to love playing Marist.
So a psychological change.
Yeah, it's a change.
Well, I have to say, you look good.
Yeah,
in green.
it doesn't matter what team you play for. There's always a good bunch.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of good bunches, Marist is a very happy camp, and a lot of that's got to do with the coaching of both yourself and your co-coach, Seta Sauira. So I'm very intrigued. Co-coaching could have its frictions, I'm sure, but not in your case. So why does it work so seamlessly for you two?
I think if you're going to co-coach, excuse me, you have to know the person you're co-coaching with, and make sure that you're on the same wavelength, that you've got the same values, the same goals. And both Seta and I are very similar. We care about family. We care about the people, their health, their mental health, the whole lot, first and foremost before the game. And that's what works and works for Seta and I.
And so you worked that out over coffees over summer and just got to know each other?
Yeah, I think so. But you get to know people when you're around the place, having a beer in the rugby club. You get to know people that you can work with and you can't work with, or.
Well, Seta himself is a stalwart of the club, isn't he?
Absolutely.
Over 100 games in first grade, over 200 games for the club in total. So been a real big part. Now he's got two boys, like you've got your son in the team. He's got two sons in the team as well, and Timmy and Nick. So that family connection must be very strong for you both.
Oh, it is. It is very strong, and it's one of those things because it's hard coaching when you have got family. But you've got to forget Herb is in that team is there for a reason and a purpose. When you're selecting, I guess, a team, you look at who you're playing, who's performing, who's turning up to trainings. And we seem to have a good mix in that team, a good understanding, a good culture. And it's really going well at the moment.
Yeah, I think it is. I'm seeing it firsthand.
Yeah.
They just love each other's company and they respect you and Seta, so it's going very, very well. You talked before about being a people person. Is that at the forefront of your philosophy of coaching? And how does that manifest itself?
Yeah, and backing up a little bit, you talk about being a people's person, that sort of stuff, and the respect I heard from the club, from members of the club who had that respect for Seta. So that was something big when we first looked at, when people talk about Seta and this and Seta that and Seta the club man, that's something that grabs you and go, okay, yeah, he's someone I could work with. Sorry, what was the question?
Your coaching philosophy.
Yeah, I guess for Seta and I, we've got a lot of experience between us. And my coaching philosophy, I guess, is the experience and Seta's, the experience we've learned from previous coaches, that man managing, the people skills. It's having a happy camp, looking after them on and off the field.
And your coaching style, you're not a technology whiz. You don't do a lot of notes and whatnot and give those to the players. You're very much a communicator, one-on-one with your players, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. It's all up in the computer. No one can trace it. If I put it on a bit of paper and they lose it, somebody else can get it. I think that's my people skills. I can remember, I can watch a game and see things and read a game and talk to someone rather than writing down notes and missing things.
Or looking at video clips.
Yeah, I look at the old clip.
But you're right, you trust your eyes.
Yep, I trust my eyes, but you also got to have feedback from your players and that as well. They're out there making the decisions out there.
You also have a wider group of people who have been involved with our club a long time, who are providing you with sort of advice from the sidelines, coaching support.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've got a number of different ones who are in a wider coaching group that we've asked to come along, keep an eye, and if they see anything, come and tell us. We'll have a chat to the players. You can pass on some of that knowledge.
So, Con, 230 plus first-class games, and now beginning what I think will be a really good coaching career. You have to be excited with your life in rugby.
Yeah, you do. You do. I guess you look back, we had Paul Hall's 100th, which was pretty special last week, and I look back and wow, 100 games is awesome. Then you think, I had more club games than first-class games. I had 230 first-class games. No wonder I had my knee replaced and my body's a bit old and sore.
Yeah, no rotation.
There was no rotation. There was 100 scrums against the power pole. Then
Tell us about the game this weekend. It's going to be a big one at Sports Hut Motuiha. Not going to be easy, potentially quite wet.
Yeah, I think a damp one. And they will be very hard. They've got a few players, I believe, coming back with Hunter, Luca, and Young Junior. Apparently all back for this game, which is going to add a lot to their pack, a lot of experience and a lot of class. I'm predicting to get along and have a watch of this game because it'll be a good game, good spectacle, even though it's going to be I'd say a muddy affair.
Yeah, and
good spectacle.
And the thing is, in order to be the top, you've got to play the best, don't you? So it's going to be a really big test for the guys.
Play the best in whatever conditions.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and what amazes me is just the professionalism in local club rugby and senior rugby. I remember the days in Marist back when I grew up, had a couple of mates that played for them, and they'd have to rally around in the morning and go and pick people up and potentially get a couple out of the cells from the night before and scramble the team together and put them on. And all of a sudden now there's a big club room and it's well organised and good coaches. So it's pleasing how all that's come a long way. And of course, a great pathway for the players coming through where potentially it could go on to bigger things for a career.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's about creating that whole culture with the management team, the coaching team, and on and off the field.
Yeah.
You're representing your Marist colour on that field, but you're also representing them when you go into town or whatever you do. And that's part of your culture. And if you want to move forward these days, you've got to represent yourself on and off the field.
Yeah, great. Well, Con, look, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here. Great stories, great memories, and fantastic rugby career you have, but a lot more to come, and appreciate all the stuff you're doing for local club rugby. Thanks very much for joining
us. Having me here.
That's it for another edition of the Mako Rugby Roundup. We'll be back again next week. Thanks very much, Les. Hope you have a great weekend. Might have to have the gumboots on this weekend.
You can now see why Marist are in good hands.
Yes, indeed. I can see that. And Sean, what's happening O'Shedigan's this weekend?
We're going to at least put a van load of us together and get across to Motuiha to watch that game. And then, no doubt we'll be back into town to have a couple here and socialise with whoever would like to come out for a beer. Yeah,
and watch the nighttime rugby. I got a text during the weekend with the game on the weekend saying, "Look at the crowd at night rugby.
Yeah,
it's packed."
It goes to show when the top two teams are playing,
it makes a difference.
Right?
Yeah.
Pleasure having you here, gentlemen. Thank you very much once again, and we'll have you. We'll see you all again next week.
Looking forward.
Excellent. Cheers,
Thanks,
mate.
Chris.
The Mako Rugby Roundup. What's on, where and when. It's the Talk of Nelson. Talk Nelson Radio.